So, episode 3 begins with Jian coming home from school and finding building work happening in the house. Jian asks her uncle why they're doing that when there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with the house. Passin tells Jian that the repair needs to be done as soon as possible to make sure that the house continues to remain nice and strong. So Jian then requests for a window to be installed in her room, seeing as they are doing all the repair work. These guys try to be extra and charge triple for the window installation as they want to eat premium meat. This is quickly shot down by Jin Man and they set on double the cost instead. Still a ripoff if you ask me. Jian and Jin Man are told that it will take 2 weeks for the repairs to be completed, and Jian asks Jin Man where they are going to stay for those 2 weeks. That's when we see Jian and Jin Man walking in the woods. It appears that along the way, Jin Man possibly got hurt and is being assisted by Jian to a cave where they have come across. In the cave, Jian tries to call for help, but finds that she has no signal. Jin Man is sweating profusely and Jian checks his temperature. Jin Man tells her that they need to work quick before hypothermia sets in. They have a map and they're trying to work out where Jian will need to go in order to get help for her uncle. Jin Man mentions there being wild boars in the mountains and that if she feels that she is in danger when trying to get help, that she would need a weapon. Jin Man hands Jian, of all things, a slingshot. Jian is a little annoyed at this, so Jin Man tells her to leave it if she feels that she does not need it. Jian has left to get help, and Jin Man, whose phone is working perfectly fine, calls Passin to tell him that the drugs are incredible. Turns out that the possible hypothermia was because of the drugs and they needed Jian to think her uncle needed help. It all seems to be part of some weird training set up by Jin Man and Passin. Jin Man goes further into the cave and takes out the rifle that has been bagged up in a section of the cave. Jin Man is in the woods and comes across a shelter. Jian opens the door, perhaps hoping to find a phone to call for help. Instead, she comes across some wolves eating something. When the light shines on the floor, we see a severed hand wearing knuckle dusters. It's the same hand that belonged to her uncle's friend when she was little. In shock, Jian falls backwards and is approached by the hyena in her nightmares. She takes out her slingshot and thinks about the talk that she had with her uncle on the day her parents died. She fires, but nothing much happens. Jian is saved by her uncle, who appears with the rifle that he had stashed in the cave. On the drive back home, Jian asks Jin Man what happened considering he was sweating with a fever when she left him in the cave. She then asks why he had a gun, especially when he only gave her a slingshot for protection. Jin Man tells her that she wasn't given a gun as she doesn't know how to use one. Jian is doing target practice with the slingshot when her uncle arrives and tells her that he will teach her how to shoot a gun. He breaks down the gun and tells Jian about each part of the weapon. Shortly after, we see her uncle giving her the basics of shooting the weapon. Back to present day and we see what the drone is looking like after being hit by the chair with Jian. Jeong Jin Man seems to be panicking a little and is told to snap out of it by Jian. They head out of her uncle's room using the door from the cabinet as a shield. Unfortunately, there is another drone waiting for them in the living room. Min-hee is watching all of the action happening at the house from her car and mentions that they have pulled out all the stops. Min-hee gets out of the car and heads to the boot, and this is where we pick up from the beginning of when the episode started. Realizing that bullets won't work on the door, the drone instead fires an explosive at the door, which sends Jian and Jeong Jin Man flying when it goes off. The EMP finally has gone off and the drone loses power. When trying to escape, Jeong Jin Man is met by Min-hee, who manages to pin him to the ground, and she uses a device to check if he has a code. As there was no confirmed code, Min-hee asks who he is and is told that he is Jian's friend. She takes out a needle and uses it on Jeong Jin Man, which seems to leave him unable to move. Min-hee gets up and tries to approach Jian, who is facing her with a slingshot aimed at Min-hee. Min-hee then aims her gun at Jian. They have a quick fight, and when Jian is pinned, Min-hee uses the opportunity to check if Jian has a code, which she unknowingly does. Min-hee tries to Jian that she will need to trust her if she wants to survive, but is suddenly shot in the arm by a sniper. Jian and Min-hee separate, and we see a sniper is annoyed that he missed as he could have taken out Min-hee with the first shot. Min-hee tells Jian that she is not there to fight and that she is instead there to help her as she is code green. She tells Jian about a few times when Jian may have asked for help from her uncle in the last 10 years. We see a group of guys that were at the barrel fire from the previous episode. The leader says that they have until 6 p.m. to get the job done. He then tells the group to trust him and listen to his orders. After testing their equipment, they get ready to go to the house used in the field. Min-hee tells Jian not to move from where she is hiding. A smoke bomb has gone off and Min-hee uses the cover to take a few shots. After asking for assistance on getting the smoke cleared out, the sniper sees Min-hee in the house and takes a shot at her, hitting her in the arm. The sniper tells the group on the bridge that Min-hee is in the house. This doesn't stop them and they decide to begin what they call the rabbit hunt. Jian sees Min-hee's gun on the ground and tries to reach for it but is stopped by a gunshot. Also on the ground is pieces of a broken mirror. Jian takes one of these pieces and secures it to a broom, which she uses to try and see the location of the shooter by lifting it at the side of the window. It does take a few attempts, with the failed attempts being shot down by the sniper before Jian is able to get an idea of the shooter's location. Now that Jian knows where the shots are coming from, she decides to climb on top of the fridge so that she can jump to the chair in order to grab the gun which slid under the chair. The sniper tells the driver to move forward a bit so that he can get a better look inside the house. With his new location, he was able to see where Jian was, and with a countdown of 3, both Jian and the sniper make their move. Just as Jian makes the jump, the sniper shoots but narrowly misses her, while Jian safely manages to jump on the couch. Jian immediately tries to grab the gun under the chair, but as she can't reach, she flips the chair only to find a rifle hidden underneath. Min-hee tries to slide next to Jian to get to the rifle, but is stopped by Jian, who points the gun at her. She stops and asks if Jian has ever shot a gun before. Jian doesn't say anything, but instead proceeds to place the bullets in the rifle before lining up a shot. She manages to find the sniper, and just when he finds out where she is hiding behind the couch, she takes a shot at the sniper. The shot misses, but instead manages to hit the driver. Min-hee finally gets close to Jian and has the rifle, and shortly after, the group that was on the bridge arrive outside the house. Spotted by Min-hee, she takes a shot at them. Min-hee tells Jian and Jeong Min that she will cover them while they make their way to the storage shed. Jian asks Min-hee how she can trust her. The group is still standing outside the house using a wall for cover when Jian and Jeong Min use the cupboard door from earlier as cover while they make their way to the storage shed. The sniper notices this and takes a shot which scares Jeong Min. Jian and Jeong Min eventually makes it to the storage shed and make it to the cage where she is told to go by Min-hee. The group that was outside the house have made their way to outside the storage shed. Jian and Jeong Min are trying to work out the password for the keypad when she remembers what her uncle told her about her ID number. Jian tries her ID number, which is correct, and then her face is scanned. After passing the needed security, the cage lowers down to a floor below. When they reach the basement, they can see all the items that were on the Murder Help website locked away in coded sections. They hear a gun go off and put their hands up, where they are approached by a guy going by the name of Brother. While this is going on, the group up top enters the storage shed, where Min-hee is already waiting in hiding. It's not long before we hear gunshots going off inside the storage shed. That's it for today's recap, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and tune in next week for the next episode.